On today's episode, we're just gonna take it easy, we're gonna relax, and we're just gonna have a lovely day messing about on the river. We watched The Wind in the Willows, aka Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, as Python Month concludes today on Nothing Movies. You do that eventually. One of these days, I'm going to make you do the entire theme song.
Okay.
I'm going to make you sing the entire theme song.
Take the meal out of Eddie's mouth, why don't you?
Or I just, loop it over the actual theme song. Do you want to have one go of it now? All right, well, that'll be fun to see if that's something.
Oh, it won't match.
That'll see if that matches up.
Oh, I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it.
Well, that'll be a fun little treat for me when I'm in the editing room. Welcome back.
Editing room.
It's a room.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wherever I'm editing the podcast, I'm in a room.
No, technically, yeah.
It's not like I'm not like I'm editing outside.
It just becomes the editing room.
Yeah.
Wherever you edit.
Exactly. Wherever the editing is happening, that's the editing room.
Much like how my apartment is the studio.
Exactly. And it will be for maybe some time to come. But welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to Nothing Movies, where we ask the question, I wonder where that fish has gone.
Okay.
It's the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography and choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made and decide whether it's a charming little mole or whether it's a smelly weasel. I'm Kaz Lesgard.
Oh my god, man. Are you going to be doing this sort of variation for all the themes?
Maybe.
Oh.
Who knows?
Okay. All right. I'm Jameson Rafter.
I'm a slave to my whims, Jameson. I never know. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Consistency be damned.
Kapow! And today we're wrapping up our trilogy on the Nothing Movies of the Monty Python troupe with 1996's The Wind in the Willows, or depending on where you're watching it, it's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. It is a little piece of family entertainment based on a classic, beloved piece of British children's literature that stars and is directed by Mr. Terry Jones, one of my personal favorite members of Monty Python. I don't know if you have favorites within the troupe, but I've always really loved Terry Jones.
Yeah, I mean, the clear standout favorites to me growing up were John Cleese and Eric Idle.
Yeah, Cleese is like the popular one. Cleese is the one that everyone comes away with loving.
Well, Python was sort of made as a starring vehicle for him. He was sort of like the...
Ooh, I'm gonna fight you on that. I don't think it was.
He was the breakout star, and there was a lot of buzz going into... I think they got their meeting with the BBC because there was some rumblings about this young Cleese fellow.
Sure.
I
do know that before Monty Python's Flying Circus, Cleese did this TV special, which I grew up having on VHS called How to Annoy People.
Yeah.
And that actually predated Monty Python, and he's on there with Chapman and Palin. So you actually might know more about this than me. They more or less got the show started because of the heat off of Cleese. He was the one going into it. So yes, so I will defer to you.
All right, thank you. But I mean, of the Pythons, they're all brilliant, and they all have like their own stand-up moments. And Python is not the same thing when you remove any one of them. All that said, I probably had less affinity towards Terry Jones. Probably because he was just the most odd-looking, I thought.
He was the most odd-looking. He generally played the most women.
I don't care about that.
He usually played women exactly the same way. He would always do this voice, Markle!
And he would also always play, like, the stuffy, older British gentry. Like the guys in the bowler hats and everything. He did that the most.
I loved all the Pythons growing up. I loved all the Python stuff growing up. I brought a little something with me today. I grew up reading this book. This is like a very important book from my childhood. It's called The Curse of the Vampire Socks. And it's a collection of funny, silly little poems and stories written by Terry Jones. And this was sort of like the first instance for me where I realized it's all like, oh, these guys do more than this one thing. They're doing like a whole bunch of other stuff here. But yeah, I was just leafing through this book this morning. It's got some fantastic little stories. The Sewer Kangaroo, Custard Day, Moby Duck.
I mean, like, as I grew older and started, like, looking into the stuff that influenced me as a kid, and looking into the Python stuff, Terry Jones really was the one that had the most whimsical sense, and to just go, I want to make a story about custards.
Exactly. Yeah. Terry Jones directed all of the Python movies, with the exception of And Now for Something Completely Different.
Right.
He directed his debut film was Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which he co-directed with Terry Gilliam, the two Terrys.
Yep.
It's a bit of a tumultuous shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why all of the remaining Python movies were just directed by Terry Jones. Turns out Terry Gilliam doesn't really work well with other people. Shock among shocks. But yeah, growing up, watching those Monty Python movies, it definitely struck me while I was watching this movie, Wind in the Willows, last night. I was like, holy shit, this is from the director of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And when you remember that, it does certainly make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, Monty Python and the Holy Grail is fairly well-made dark fantasy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's like I really appreciate the just like the horribleness of old medieval England. They didn't try to romanticize it or anything. A lot of that had to do with the weather.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wind in the Willows.
So what?
There is a chaotic energy to the Wind in the Willows.
Absolutely,
movie.
yeah. Oh yeah, we should. I want to talk about that chaotic energy in a second, but just really quickly, what's your backstory, if anything, with Wind in the Willows? I know, for me anyway, it was always people of our age who grew up like watching television know it primarily for the stop motion animated show,
100%, yeah.
Which ran for a really long time. It ran for like 56 episodes, which is like really impressive when you're doing like something for television that involves stop motion animation.
So looking back on my history of the stop motion Wind of the Willows, because that's the one that I'm way more familiar with.
Yeah.
I didn't get into it at all as a kid.
Yeah, of course.
Now, like, because it's a little slower pace.
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you right now, as a kid, I was a little scared of Badger. That was a mean-looking puppet that they used. He
was always scowled. He always had angry eyes, like no matter what situation he was in.
And he had a real growly voice. And
yeah.
So I never really got into Wind in the Willows as a kid. But because that's a blind spot in my memory bank, after watching this movie, I went back and watched the full stop-motion movie from 1983.
Oh, wow.
And
so like the pilot.
Yeah,
the show.
Yeah. And that's just a mood.
Oh yeah, it's mood cinema. Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Like when you're a kid and you're flipping through the channels and you spy like a few minutes of that one, you either try to sit down and get into it, or you just change the channel because it's remarkably British. It's very proper. It's a little stuffy. For anyone listening to this who isn't familiar with this source material at all, The Wind in the Willows is a British children's book about three friends, Rat, Mole, and Badger, who are all kind of like effete British gentlemen who don't really worry about things.
They love having afternoon tea and picnics in the meadow. And
then they have a fourth friend named Toad, who's
an asshole!
Who has generational wealth and is constantly fucking shit up. And that's the plot of the plot of the book, and that's the plot of nearly every episode of the television show.
The Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos of his day. And it's all about them trying to keep his mania in check.
It's all about them, like, sacrificing their own peace and happiness to try and help out their one toxic friend.
Yeah. We all know a Mr. Toad in our lives.
We all have a Mr. Toad in our lives, yeah. And at some point in time, we all have to ask ourselves, all like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Are they really going to change? Are they going to, like, find out an elaborate way to sneak out the back window and steal a motor car?
Yeah.
What an interesting, like, pop culture character Mr. Toad is. What? You know, like, he's like this fancy British toad gentleman who is addicted to vehicle. He's addicted to cars. He has like a mania.
He develops these obsessions on a whim.
Yeah.
And then he'll just switch gears on a dime whenever he finds something else that strikes his fancy. What's amazing to me, because like I said before, not super familiar with it, but now having seen, the same movie twice, just told differently.
Yeah.
There's no lesson that he learns. He's a very flat character who never develops.
To be fair,
and coming from a children's story, you would have to assume there had to be some kind of lesson that this character learns to teach kids that, like, it's better to behave.
Now, to be fair, I have not read the book, but I did read the Wikipedia synopsis, and it does appear that at the end of the book, Toad is supposed to have learned his lesson.
Okay.
At the end of the book, this also happens in the movie, but he has like a big party at Toad Hall, and he gets up in front of the crowd and he like apologizes.
I couldn't have done this without my friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
But of course, the TV show, he can't learn any lesson because it's a TV show and he has to remain consistent throughout it. And at the end of this movie, it's just all like, no, we don't want Toad to learn any lessons. We want him to be a rascally adventurer. And we want him to steal things. Yeah, like the contrast of the Mr. Toad character is always really interesting because you think of that title, The Wind in the Willows. It's I know it's just like the most like relaxing thing you can think of.
You can have a nice nap under a tree in the midsummer day.
You can have a picnic down by the river bank. It's always a lovely time for a picnic, Jameson.
Yeah. And then it's Mr. Toad's wild ride.
And he's just going through here and he's crashing cars and saying a cab. Mr. Toad truly was the original anarchist. The true, he's like, as you say, he's an asshole, but you know, like when he's in the courtroom and he's like yelling at the judge and everything, I was like, hell yeah, go off, King. Like Toad, Mr. the original anti-establishment boy. And he's just...
The law doesn't apply to me. I'm rich.
I'm rich, exactly. I have generational wealth. Indeed. Yeah, so there's the stop motion animated thing. Obviously, this has been adapted multiple times. It was also adapted by Disney in a short 30-minute cartoon, which I rewatched last night.
Okay.
So I've also seen two versions of this story.
What's wrong with us?
I just wanted to get like a little context. It'd been a while since I had seen the cartoon one. I think it's a little more well known for being lumped together with the Sleepy Hollow cartoon. To make a...
Oh my god, that's right.
To make a longer movie called The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I skipped Ichabod this time because I even though I think that's the better of the two cartoons, but I just kind of wanted to focus on Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
And of course, it is probably more well known for the ride at Disneyland, which is also called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yeah.
Which is you're in the car with Mr. Toad and like you're going
you're
around
on his wild ride.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's not even that anymore. Isn't it like a Lilo and Stitch ride and soon to be replaced with like a Guardians of the Galaxy ride or something?
Didn't we discuss this on a past episode? I was under the impression that Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was gone, but then someone corrected me and said that it's still there.
Okay.
And that wasn't you?
Might not.
I'm conflating that with something
We've done a lot of episodes.
We truly have, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it might be. I don't know.
I mean, like the physical ride's still there, but it's probably just been rebranded as like some more modern Disney property because who the hell remembers the Mr. Toad cartoon from the 80s?
It's hard to type in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. No, it's still open. Like Toad Hall is still there and everything. Yeah, so it's just like
I stand corrected.
It's one of the more obscure things. I mean, they have finally, thank goodness. I think maybe the thing we're getting confused is they have recently rebranded Splash Mountain, which originally was sort of designed after characters in Song of the South.
Oh, yeah.
And they've now recently rebranded it, I think, as like Princess and the Frog's log splash ride or something like that. So I don't know. They finally got rid of because there was like little animated segments of Song of the South. It wasn't all just like
Uncle Remus,
a pleasant black man teaching life lessons to white children. There was some cartoon shit was happening in that.
I don't know. I could think of a lot of better things I could do with a title like Princess Log Splash Ride.
Well,
anyways,
I don't know. We're getting back. Yeah, if you go back, that's the official title too. They're saying like, "Welcome back to Princess Log Splash Ride."
Like, man, there's a sex joke in there somewhere. Anyways, moving on.
But there have been multiple adaptations of this story, either in animation, which you would think makes the most sense given that they're anthropomorphized animals, or but there are a handful of other adaptations that are exactly like this movie, which is actors in the
flimsiest of animal
the barest amount of costuming you can get to
I can't wait to get into this.
There was about 10 years ago there was another TV version that was very much like this. That was a co-production of the BBC and the CBC. It was directed by Rachel Talalay, who directed Tank Girl and Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, and now is a professor at UBC. That one starred Little Britain's Matt Lucas as Mr. Toad and Bob Hoskins as Badger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there have been like a handful of animated ones. There apparently was, in 2003, they were working on a mix of live action and CG animation version that was supposed to be directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh.
One of like the 18 projects that he had announced at one point in time that never came to fruition. I want to read this. This is on the Wind in the Willows Wikipedia. I really want to read this blurb because it's fantastic. 2003, Guillermo del Toro was working on an adaptation for Disney. He's quoted as saying, "It was a beautiful book, and then I went to meet with the executives, and they said, 'Could you give Toad a skateboard and make him say radical dude things?' And that's when I said, 'It's been a pleasure.'" But it's like, you can absolutely imagine Toad doing that. Toad, the poochification of Mr. Toad.
So long as they change nothing else about the book and they just make him super modern and drop in so many Gen Z shit.
Yeah, can he be extreme to the max?
Yeah.
Is there any way he can do that? Is there any way Mr. Toad can drink this wild cherry Pepsi while doing sick BMX tricks?
Yeah, and following TikTok trends.
Yeah. And, I mean, in addition to, like, the straight adaptations of the source material, like, the characters... I say characters, I really just mean Mr. Toad. The thing is that, like, every adaptation of The Wind in the Willows... It's like, what's it about? It's about this guy named Mr. Toad, and then the three other dudes who are also there.
Yeah. The story starts off with another character, and we follow him meeting some other friends and getting some insight on the area and the world building. And
but none of that's interesting.
Hey, you know what? This is boring as shit. Let's go talk to our crazy rich friend.
But Mr. Toad has endured, I think, as a pop culture character, like the idea of like a toad wearing a little suit driving a motor car, like that image has stayed in our pop culture. I'd say like the weirdest place Mr. Toad has ever shown up. He's also a Batman villain.
Yeah, but I mean,
kind of. He's like Professor Pig's chauffeur.
Yeah.
So I can't remember whether or not he's like an actual toad person or if he's like a man wearing a toad costume, but he's in there. Batman has punched Mr. Toad in the face.
I mean, Batman has a couple of public domain bad guys. He's got the Mad Hatter.
That's true.
Yeah. That's the only one that comes to my mind.
Exactly. Yeah. He's got the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who has the rightful ownership to penguins?
Mother Nature. That's who.
Yeah.
So Wind in the Willows, it's like a whole damn thing.
Yeah.
And this is the only today, other than the short Disney cartoon, this is the only theatrical version that ever made it to theaters.
I can't imagine.
And even then, it didn't make it to theaters in North America. I think it strictly made it to theaters in the UK. Kind of got tossed around for a while, and then eventually Disney picked up the
distribution rights,
which it's still weird to watch a show for this podcast and have the Disney logo show up in front of it.
It is it's a little off-putting.
Yeah.
I'm shocked this made it into theaters. This has straight to VHS written all over it, but I guess things were just done differently in the UK back in the 90s.
Well, I think the UK is just
it's so thin on plot. They had to pad this thing compared to the stop motion one, which I'm going to say is, the most accurate adaptation of Wind in the Willows. They had to they added shit. They I mean, this is there's a I want to say throwaway line that I think turns the entire story on its head.
Getting super meta. What is it?
I'll bring it up when we get into the episode.
Okay.
Get into the
I
movie.
mean, this is a remarkably short movie. It doesn't even crack an hour and a half. But I watched this and then I watched the Disney cartoon right after, and the Disney cartoon is like half an hour. It covers basically everything that happens in the Terry Jones movie, and it's a far more concise and to the point, and it feels like the stronger adaptation, frankly, because they're not taking as many long walks with it.
So why did Terry Jones want to do it? I mean, I will say that getting the Monty Python guys involved in a whimsical kids movie seems like a good fit. I mean, when they're not just being, poking fun at the establishment, they're just doing silly flights of fancy.
I don't know. I think it's 1996. They were all pretty old at that point in time. You know, like they were probably all in like their late 40s, early 50s at this stage. And maybe maybe Jones just wanted to do something innocent. Maybe he just wanted to do something like whimsical that he could let like young people see or whatever. Of course, in the UK, Wind in the Willows is a much bigger deal than it is over here. So there's probably far more of an audience for it. When Disney acquired the distribution rights, I think it just like very quietly released this movie on home video in North America. They changed the title so that it fit with
their fucking amusement park ride.
Yeah, the Disney park ride. Yeah, exactly. It's very weird because, like, I do actually think Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is the better of the two titles. It captures sort of, like, the manic energy of this movie a little bit more than The Wind in the Willows, which makes me want to, like, yawn and take a nap under a tree.
That is very true.
So Terry Jones is a director. After he makes the 3 Monty Python movies, he has 4 other movies that he makes. His movie that he makes after The Meaning of Life, he does a movie called Personal Services, which is a Julie Walters vehicle where she is a lady who decides to open a brothel in her house.
Okay.
And it holds the distinction of being the 3rd movie he directed in a row, which was banned in Ireland.
Oh,
because
interesting.
both Life of Brian and Meaning of Life were banned in Ireland, I'm assuming for blasphemous reasons. And I guess the story of sex work. I don't know what Ireland was going through at the time, but they must have been wagging some fingers.
The Troubles, most likely.
Probably. 1987?
Oh, 87.
No, that was... Troubles were done by that point, right?
Yeah.
No, this isn't a history podcast. Yeah. But then after he does...
Thatcher in power then? Anyways, go on.
After he does Personal Services, he does a movie that we talked about, I think, last week, Eric the Viking, which on paper sounds a little... pretty similar to Yellowbeard in the sense that it's a ribald comedy that has way too many rape jokes in it, but that has Tim Robbins as Eric the Viking. Terry Jones is also in it. John Cleese is in it. No Idol this time. Interesting. This is Idol said no to Vikings.
Wow.
But Mickey Rooney, Eartha Kitt, another all-star cast in this movie that eventually I'm going to have to watch at some point in time. Then he does Wind in the Willows, and then of course his final movie, 2015, another movie we've mentioned before, Absolutely Anything, which is the final film that had all the Monty Python guys in it. They play a group of aliens.
Oh, yeah, with Simon Pegg,
With
right?
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
And it also ended up being the final film of Robin Williams, who voices a dog. So it's a double sad movie because it's Robin Williams' last movie, and now, sadly, it's also Terry Jones' last movie as well, too.
Yeah.
That's his career. And, I don't know. Should we go into talking about the movies? Is there anything else you want to say about the Pythons? I mean, like, I feel like we've really like covered all of the bases in terms of how we feel about these guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been one of those primary comedic influences as a kid. Like like everything from Seinfeld to The Simpsons to Monty Python really kind of shaped my sense of humor. Not exactly in how I write my materials and stuff, but I think what I always really admired about the Pythons in general was just the sheer fearlessness of them being performers, because they're just doing the most off-the-wall insane shit, and they have no ego about themselves doing that. And I always found that really encouraging. Never back down on your ideas, never second-guess yourself, if you're fortunate enough to collaborate with some other creative, funny people, amazing things will happen. And that's been sort of an attitude that I carry forward in all of my independent works. And, to the point where, like, I have a Ministry of Silly Walks poster
right next to us. We're looking right at him.
Had that for years. I met John Cleese at a book signing.
I forgot. We mentioned this on an episode a long time ago, but I realized we should have brought this up when Maddie was here, because
she was the sister I brought. Yeah.
Yes, I still remember the story of John Cleese saying she's stock raving, Madison. Yes, zinged by Cleese. I can't believe I forgot to talk to her.
I mean,
about
like
that.
what an honor. Comedy legend zings ya. Yeah.
It was probably an honor back then. Maybe less so now. Nowadays, John Cleese is hanging out zingers right, left, and center, and a lot of them they're not great zingers anymore. He's not really putting as much thought into them.
I mean,
back in the day.
I don't really care,
Sure.
I mean, he's an old man, and
exactly
because I admired the work that he did, I can, look at that and say, oh, well, that's a good standard. I don't treat everything a man like him says as gospel.
Yes.
I think having any kind of celebrity hero worship is a bad thing.
Because they'll let you
I'm
down.
willing to. I'm separating the art from the artist on this sort of thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I skimmed through Terry Jones's Wikipedia, and the thing that I learned is that, like, from a political standpoint, he very much viewed himself as an anarchist. Mm-hmm. Like, he really, he specifically said, like, the government needs to, like, be built from, like, the ground up. The government shouldn't come from, like, proclamations from up on high. Mm-hmm. And you can very much see that. And maybe, I'm speculating here, maybe that's what drew him to the story of Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
Who also has a bit of an anarchist spirit, who spits in the face of
convention and
rules.
Yeah,
exactly. So I feel that way. I just need to tell this story because I've been meaning to bring it up the past 3 times, and if I don't say it, I'll just forget all about it.
Yeah, this is our chance. Yeah.
I was on a date once with this guy, and it was like the 3rd time we had hung out. I just invited him to hang out at my house, have some dinner, watch a movie or whatever. And through talking with him, I found out that he had never heard of Monty Python. Mm-hmm. He was from Mexico. He had never seen Monty Python before. And then I'm like, oh, great, we'll watch a movie. And I want to do this as like a public service. If you're in that exact situation, show them Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Which is not the choice I made. I stupidly went with Meaning of Life. Mm-hmm. That is not the movie to get someone indoctrinated into Monty Python. No. That is not an easy movie to sit through. Yeah. It's quite grim and depressing at times. Mm-hmm. If you are meeting a Monty Python newbie and you want them to get an idea of what they are, honestly, show them And Now for Something Completely Different. That's got like the best gags in it.
Those are the perfect introduction. I was introduced to Holy Grail, and I was also 8 years old, so that was like right up my alley. It doesn't lean too heavily into the poking fun at the establishment. The main character is a fucking king, and he just deals with a bunch of insane situations around him. And Now for Something Completely Different is just their best bits from their TV show. Mm-hmm. So perfect introduction to the world of Monty Python. Yeah, and I think they hold up the best because of that. Yeah, because it's just their unbridled silliness, which I think is the best part of Monty Python.
I had Meaning of Life on VHS growing up. I watched it a ton. Not a good first date movie. I just want to state that for the record. Well, you got to work your way up to Meaning of Life. You can't just jump into the deep end there.
Well, I mean, hey, like even in the best of situations, Monty Python's not for everybody.
No, no, not at all. No, yeah. And I don't think it was for this guy. I don't think he went on and watched the rest of it on his own.
Never seen Monty Python. That's a red flag right there.
Probably. I probably should have like escorted them. I should have pulled the Guillermo del Toro and said like, "Thank you for your time." All right. Well, we'll take a little break, and when we come back, we will get into what are we calling this episode? Are we going to call it through both titles?
I don't think that's going to fit in the title character limit on YouTube. Let's just go with Wind in the Willows.
All right, sure. We'll be back. We'll be discussing 1996's The Wind in the Willows.
Yeah, so
after this.
We're going to take a walk on the wild side, and we'll see you in a bit. I don't know why.
Take a walk on the wild ride?
Right. There you go. We got there.
We found it. We got there.
Detection is one of the greatest challenges faced in trying to raise the survival rate of pancreatic cancer, the 3rd leading cause of cancer-related deaths and one of the toughest diseases in the world. There are currently no screening tests available for pancreatic cancer, and many of their symptoms are vague and nonspecific and occur much more commonly with other conditions. Because of this, research into pancreatic cancer has been drastically outpaced by other cancers, leaving those afflicted with the disease in a dire situation. So I would like to take a moment to talk about Pancreatic Cancer Canada, a progressive organization committed to raising the survival rate through major investments in research and increased awareness of the disease among healthcare professionals, while also ensuring patients and their families have access to the specialized care and support they need at every stage. Together with their partners, Pancreatic Cancer Canada raises funds to support cutting-edge research into early detection and effective treatment options that will raise the survival rate and improve quality life of the patients. They identify gaps in patient care and provide specialized support, information, and resources to patients and their families, and also collaborate with leading cancer centers, allied organizations, and corporate partners on a national and global scale to advance their mission. If you know someone with cancer, don't tell them you're sorry. help save their life. Find out how you can help by visiting the website pancreaticcancercanada.ca to make a donation or find out how to get involved. Again, that website is pancreaticcancercanada.ca.
And we're back. Oh god, we're recording.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So yes, 1996 is The Wind in the Willows. I was really surprised that this movie was from 1996. For some reason, I had memory hold this as like a much older movie. Like it's weird that this movie was released the same year as Independence Day.
You know, come to think of it, I got some weird Chicken Run vibes from this movie. Maybe because it takes place in the English countryside, and it's a children's story, so there is that kind of attitude. And
British characters. They do share a cast member because the voice of Ginger also plays the jailer's daughter in this movie.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. There's that connection.
All right. Well, I'm just saying, like, well, I don't know when the fuck did Chicken Run come out? Like 2000?
It came out in the year 2000.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's okay. Then were you thinking maybe in that wheelhouse? That's when it came
Something
out?
along that. Okay. Man, speaking of Chicken Run, I watched that Netflix sequel about a month ago.
Oh, yeah?
I was watching it. About like 10 minutes into it, I just thought to myself, man, I really want to watch Chicken Run.
I would rather watch the original.
That was my experience watching Dawn of the Nugget. It's just like an hour and a half of me sitting on the couch, but man,
I should have just watched the other
I
one.
would much rather just watch the first Chicken Run than this. But anyway, Wind in the Willows.
Yeah.
This we will be recapping a plot that is like basically the plot of like this classic piece of children's literature, which I haven't read.
Yeah.
I've just been tangentially familiar with
Which
it.
came out in when? Like in the 1930s?
Oh, like the 1940s, I imagine. Yeah, no, it's quite old.
Yeah.
But it begins with the credits doing something that I always kind of like, where it introduces the actors, but it also introduces
the character that they're playing.
Characters that they're playing. And I like that a lot because it lets us know that not only is this one actor playing one of the weasels, he's also playing Mole's clock.
Oh, yeah.
That's very important.
Fuck that talking clock. He has, like, one line, which is tea time, and... but yeah...
Mole just has a sentient clock living in his house like fucking Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah,
but it can only say one word, one sentence.
It's the only non-sentient thing in the world, and he's just got a face on it.
Tea time.
And it's always like 9 a.m. when it's tea time and he says it.
Here's the thing, Terry Jones. This world you've created is remarkably inconsistent. There are like all of like the humans are playing animals, and for the most sometimes they have attributes that kind of like help them resemble animals. Like rat has a tail, Toad is green, Badger just has a haircut.
Yeah, he's got streaks in his hair. That's all right, let's just get fucking into it.
Okay.
The choice, and I know this is not the only adaptation to do this, but the choice of having, a cast of characters who are primarily animals and they're just a bunch of dudes is a bad choice.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No.
It immediately is off-putting.
Yeah. Having everyone in little mustache whiskers is not enough to convey these guys as animals. I know it's really freaky when you see people have like those hybrid animal makeup jobs on them, but it gets the idea across, especially in a movie where there are other human characters.
That was the part that confused me the most, is like Toad would be in like a room or whatever, and then like a bunch of people in like a car would come into the pub where he's staying or whatever, and I'm just looking at the screen, I'm just going like, are these humans? Like, I don't see anything like hanging off of them or anything. It's just like, are there just humans in this world? Now, the short Disney cartoon also does this. Like,
it has human characters?
The
stop motion one doesn't, I don't think.
That's really interesting. And again,
no, that's not true.
I don't know how, I don't know how that works in the source material. In the Disney cartoon, they're like sized properly though. Like there's like a short scene where like a mailman comes to Rat's door, but he's like a regular human and Rat is rat-sized.
Yeah.
It's just like, telegram from Mr. Rat. Oh, thank you. It's like, okay, so humans exist in this world and they're fine delivering mail to animals.
Yeah.
And then you have this world where like some of the people have animal attributes, others are just like people.
Yeah, they're all regular humans except in the same scene, some guys will have rabbit ears on their hats or like a squirrel tail poking out on the backs of their suit jackets and everything. And then there'll be like a human car salesman or humans in a courtroom.
Yes.
And
either make them all animals or make them all people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In this world of human-animal hybrids and actual human beings, you got to do something to tell them apart, other than like, okay, well, this guy's a mole, so he's got weird gloves that have claws.
But that's the perfect case. Case in point is Mole himself, who appears to just be a dude. Like he has kind of bulky gloves on. He has like little round glasses that I guess are meant to resemble a mole's eyes, and every once in a while he has like a mining helmet on with like a light, but like other than that, there's nothing remotely moley about him. He doesn't like appear to be a mole.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that's tangent over.
We actually haven't even talked about the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So the beginning of the movie, we're in Mole's house. Mole is played by Steve Coogan, quite a young Steve Coogan. This is really before he sort of broke out in North America. He was known in England at the time for playing Alan Partridge and a bunch of other like sketch comedy characters. But yeah, American audiences hadn't really seen him yet. He's like, he's playing a wooby in this. That's really like to use like an internet phrase. Like he's very much like the wooby of the story here. He's all like,
all right. And for those in our audience who don't know what wooby means.
Oh, he's just like a little guy. He's just like a little guy, and he can't really take care of himself. He's just a little boy. That's what it means.
All right, so
that's what I assume it means. I'm not going to look up Whoopi. Okay. I don't want that in my search history.
Okay, fine.
So,
but yeah, he's just like a very quaint, keeps to himself kind of guy. He's doing some chores. He's cleaning his house or he's painting a wall or something. When all of a sudden all hell breaks loose and a bulldozer comes by and destroys his home. And renders him homeless. Now, killing his clock in the process.
But he doesn't kill the poor mole keeps going back to like the twisted wreckage of his house, and the
clock is like clinging to life.
The clock is just like covered in more and more dust every time. He sadly wipes the dust off of his face. He's just like, tea time.
Yeah. Put this clock out of his misery.
Be his mercy angel, please, Mole. Yeah. Now, in the book, which again I haven't read, but I have skimmed the Wikipedia summary. In the book, this whole like bulldozing of Mole's house doesn't happen. In the book, Mole just decides, you know what? Fuss and bother with all of this cleaning. I have to go out into the world and enjoy myself. He just decides to take the day off.
Yeah.
And but in this, no, the weasels.
We need an inciting incident.
Absolutely, we need this to drive. One of these characters needs to have some sort of motivation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this movie truly will have no plot.
Yeah. So they give it to Mole.
Yes. Who is the least defined of all of these characters.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in that regard, because everyone else has so much.
Well, I would say everyone else has one thing.
Yes. But in that they're trying to pull Mole into different directions, but all he wants is to go home. All the dude wants is his rug back,
Yeah.
So in that regard, he's sympathetic.
He's very sympathetic.
He had everything he needed in life, and then it was taken from him. And people are when he goes to the river and he meets Rat, who's not a rat. It's Eric Idle, named Rat.
So Eric Idle, he plays the water rat. He has a gross fucking rat tail that the entire time I'm watching, I'm just like, just put that shit in the pants, man. Just tuck it. You gotta tuck.
Tie it around your waist, whatever.
You gotta tuck. So yeah, he's got the tail and he has whiskers that get all CGI frayed and frazzled every time he hears something like alarming. It happens like four or five times.
Every fucking time. It's yeah. And it was like at the drop of a hat, like something will startle him or annoy him or something, and it's like wow, 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 wow. And it's like, okay, I get it.
So this is like the first 5 minutes of the movie. This world has barely been established for us, and all that's happened so far is poor Mole has had his house destroyed. He's had to run away. He's essentially homeless now. He goes down to the river. He meets Rat. He immediately tells Rat that my house has been destroyed, and Rat's immediate reaction to that is, let's just sing like a little song. Let's like get in this boat.
What a lovely day.
There's plenty to do, lots of time to messing about on the river. Wherever you go, girl.
Here to join me down the river, and he's like, I'm homeless!
What a lovely tea party. And because this world hasn't been established, and because it's just grown men playing animals, this entire scene reads as so creepy. Did you feel that? Like, something about the way Eric Idle is doing this is very Lynchian. Where Mole is just all like, my house has been destroyed. We need to act on this currently right now. And Rad is just in the boat, just go like, messing about in the river.
Yeah, he's
Where you going messing about in the river?
He's very disassociated from everything else around him. Yeah, it's like, what's in that river water that's turning this rat into a single-minded individual?
Because, like, the idea with Rad is that he's meant to contrast with Toad. Toad constantly wants new things. He wants, like, new excitement. He wants things that go fast. Rat, he's
found his thing.
He's an easygoing dude. All he needs is a boat, and he's fine, and a picnic, and he can just chill out. He's just a chill, cool dude.
He's like, what? Why are you worrying about your home, Mole? It's just these possessions, man. The world and the nature provide everything you need, man.
And every single time he talks to one of his new friends, he's just trying to reiterate. It's just all like, no, they fucked up my house.
Yeah. Are you gonna help me or not?
Well, they do. The one thing that I will say is there's like 3 different scenes where Mole meets like the 3 other friends of the characters. What I did like about this was every single time Mole mentions that his house has been destroyed, all 3 of them, Rat, Toad, and Badger, all immediately say, oh, you can live with me. And I think that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice for like kids.
Yes.
To see that's like a nice lesson where it's like,
help your neighbor.
help your friend out.
Yeah. At the same time, like, they're all like insisting, like, no, he's staying with me. No, he's staying with me. He kind of just says, I just want my home back. I want my life back. That's very kind of you to like put me up like that. But they're all competing for Mole's affection. What is it about this guy?
That's why they knocked in my home. That's all right, Molly. You can come and live with me. He's going to live with me, Badger.
My young friend's just lost his home.
Has he? Oh, you can come and live with me.
No, he's going to live with me too.
No, I've just acquired the latest thing.
They're all tripping over themselves to help this guy, which, okay, that's a nice message, but...
It's like the only guy that they know.
I guess
it works
like,
a little bit better.
You want to help me out? Like, grab a hammer and some wood and, like, let's build me a new home.
Also, like, Mole is complaining a lot about, like, his house being destroyed. He goes back a couple of times.
I wonder why.
He goes back to, like, the wreckage, like, a couple of times, and it's just all like, you can fix this. This is fine. They just kind of, like, knocked everything over. Like, you can fix... It's not like they caved his entire, like, house in. He's still able to... Also, he's a fucking mole. He can dig around it.
Exactly.
What do we even complain
about here?
Make yourself
a new fucking home.
Why is this a movie?
But to take his mind off it, Rat takes him for a nice leisurely rowboat ride around the river.
He sings a creepy song.
Yeah, messing about in a boat.
Messing about in the river.
Now, is messing about in a boat a euphemism for anything?
Definitely sounded like... The way he said that line definitely made it sound like a euphemism. It's like he's just thinking of the idea right now. It's all like, there's nothing terribly wrong with messing about in a boat.
What do you mean exactly?
What do you mean
you
by
know,
that?
a good little mess around, you know? Wait, nudge, nudge.
I am absolutely not getting in the boat with
you.
you.
You have a mess around in a boat.
Wait, no. Are you a goer?
Yeah.
And then, so they row their boat down to Toad Hall.
Well, before that, they pass by the Wildwood.
Yes.
Yes, and that's where he says, like, the meadow and the land and the forest is so good, but except for the Wildwood, we tend not to go there. Why? What's wrong with the Wildwood? Oh, nothing. I'm sure the squirrels are nice, and Badger lives there, and he's nice. But there are weasels.
Yes.
So you got to watch out for those wily weasels. And in fact, it were the weasels that destroyed Mole's home with the bulldozer.
Because Mole lives on Toad's property, and Toad has sold this plot of land to the weasels, and the weasels are always constantly trying to get Toad Hall. That was also their motivation in the cartoon. I remember as well too. They want that house.
Yeah,
they want it so they can throw crazy Saltburn-esque parties in there.
Can I just say, favorite part of the movie are the weasels. I fucking
great.
love the weasels in this movie.
You like the design of them?
What a drip.
Yeah.
They got like these awesome overcoats and their Wolverine haircuts, and they're all wearing like Agent Smith glasses and everything.
And as they're rowing down the river, we see like a couple of other like how animals are represented in this world. There's always lots of rabbits.
Yeah.
And the best joke, I think, in the movie is the fact that most of the rabbits don't have any dialogue, but like you'll just be like walking down like a pleasant country road, and there's like a whole bunch of rabbits, and they're just making out. They're just like hardcore necking each other.
Yep. And it's like, this is a kid's movie, right? But there's a gag for the adults.
There's just like a whole orgy of rabbits just on the side of the road. They don't care.
Just off to the side of your...
They don't know.
Yeah, just in your peripherals, there's rabbits fucking everywhere.
And then this character doesn't even come back, but I just thought this was a nice little inclusion. They just pass a field at one point in time. We see like an aristocratic fox who has like the red coat as if he's on a fox hunt.
Yeah.
But he's the fox this time.
So he's just like standing in a field looking around, hunting, I assume, as a fox, but he's dressed already.
Just like this one very confused character. It's just all like, what is my purpose?
Yeah.
What am I? What am I doing here?
Yeah. But quickly, just back to the weasels. I just want to say, one of the other things I love about him is like a contrast between the stop motion depiction of the weasels, where they're all these cockney blokes, eh?
Yeah.
They're a couple of bruises out to cause a couple.
We'll be able to get into town hall. It won't be a problem.
Yeah.
Come on, love.
And then these ones, they're just so deliciously evil. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I love these guys.
And there's the chief weasel, the main bad guy weasel, and then he kind of has like a henchman. And it's this classic gag in comedy, but...
like the over-talkative henchman. Yeah.
Well, it's the fact that the boss will say something that's like a metaphor for something, and then the henchman will like immediately say like the literal version of that. Is all like... Mr. Toad is late for his appointment. Yeah, and by appointment, we mean we're gonna hit him with a club. Yeah,
shut up, you.
Yeah, shut up. And it's like, that's been in like so many movies, but like it
works so well
It's
here.
funny every time.
Yeah.
It's funny every time you get like one henchman character who like over-explains what's going on.
Yeah.
And gives away what their evil plot is. It's like, shut up, you moron. That's supposed to be a secret.
Yeah, and like... They look like such a good team because they're all dressed the same and they're all identical looking and they're all in the same wavelength. Yeah, big props to the weasels. I got no problem with the weasels up until a point where I do. and I'll explain that.
So we finally get to Toad Hall. We meet Toad, who of course is played by the director Terry Jones. He's in a big round balloonish fat suit to make him look larger than he is.
The most animalistic of all the animal characters.
Sure.
Yeah.
And and he has green face paint on his face.
Nowhere else.
Most of the time, this makeup is wildly inconsistent.
Yeah.
I swear there are certain... And, like, some scenes are shot at night, so, like, obviously the lighting is different. I swear to God, there are a couple scenes in this movie where they just straight up
forget to do the green face paint.
Put the makeup on Terry Jones.
I definitely noticed that.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that, except, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was an omission. They... likely just didn't have time to do it, so they just figure like whatever, who's going to really pay attention to this?
I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like, even though he was well worn at directing movies that he was also the star of at this point in time, I wonder if that was just a situation of him wearing too many hats at once, and it's just like, I'm also directing this movie, I'm also giving like this big louder than life performance, and it's not until they literally get into the editing bay where he's all like, fuck, I didn't put the makeup on, god damn it, I knew I forgot something, son of a bitch.
One little nice touch that I saw in the very first scene with Mr. Toad is that he has a bit of a spring in his step.
Oh, yes.
Which makes sense because he's a toad.
A bit of a hop, you might say.
Yeah, but only in that first scene. After that, he's walking somewhat normally. I mean, he's nimbly footed, but in the first scene, like, yeah, he's raising those knees when he walks. And I'm like, that's a good touch. I wonder if he's going to maintain that for the whole movie. Yeah. No, he got sick of that pretty soon.
I bring him up now just because I'm not sure when we're going to be able to bring it up again, but we forgot to mention my other favorite character in this movie, the Sun!
Oh, Michael Palin.
As played by Michael Palin, who we're finally getting an opportunity to talk about, who he hasn't been in the other two movies.
And you know what? Like, now at this point, we have seen all the on-camera pythons. It's nice to hear all their voices again, and it's Michael Palin doing like his game show host type delivery.
Exactly.
Like, beautiful day, isn't it? And yeah, Everyone liked Michael Palin.
Michael Palin's the best. I knew he was in this movie. I knew he was playing the son. When I saw that credit, I assumed that was just like a very brief cameo. He's got a couple of scenes, and I'm really glad that they actually gave him like,
multiple scenes,
multiple stuff to do, because he's very funny. It's just Michael Palin's face superimposed onto a big yellow circle, but it's such a good effect. He really looks animated. He looks like a cartoon.
I think what they would have done is they filmed him on like a fisheye lens, so no matter how he tilts his head, there's always like a bit of a distortion on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very roundish, exactly. And yeah, he just like he does like a swoop with his head, and it's a very sort of
and
Chuck Jones type thing.
Perfectly matches onto the sphere of the sun, and
he's just the son.
Yeah.
He talks to the characters every once in a while. My favorite bit where he's all like, "Oh, I'm going to be setting soon. Sorry, can't stop. Gotta go." I loved it. Yeah, it was very fun.
Cheerio!
Oh, wait a minute.
Sorry, can't stop.
And you just know he filmed all his shit in like 10 minutes. Because like, even though he does come back in like 3 or 4 different scenes, they're over like that.
And the other interesting thing to point out is obviously he's Terry Jones's long-term writing partner. Obviously he's an alumni of Monty Python, so he's in here. At the same time that this movie came out, there were also 2 British-based animated Wind in the Willows movies, and he was the voice of Rat.
Okay.
So he's like a double alumni.
Oh,
there's like more than one reason for him to be here.
Okay, so he's like the legacy actor that appears in all of the Wind in the Willows
Absolutely,
properties.
yeah. Well, not all of them, but he's
get on that.
He's done 2 of them.
Yeah. Now, is the son a character in the
very much
in
doubt
the
it.
cartoon version?
I very much doubt it. I think that this is just like a fun little thing that
I gotta
they
write
add
him
here.
a role in the movie.
We gotta think of something for Michael to do. Come on.
Michael Palin, do you want to be in my Wind in the Willows adaptation? Well, I'd love to be, but I only want to be on set for about 10 minutes or so.
Now, your Palin is really good. You've really nailed him. Was that supposed to be Jones?
Yes.
Was your Jones supposed to be this?
Yeah,
This is what
his
Jones
go-to,
is.
yeah.
Hello. It is hard to do, John. I'm trying to think of like his regular speaking voices. Well, because he's Welsh.
Yeah.
He's the only Welsh member of, and I just did a play where I played a Welshman, so I should be able to do this.
You should have like gone through.
I should have been
You should
able
have
to
watched
do
a
this.
lot of Terry Jones and Flying Circus.
Hello, I'm Terry
You should have done the
Yeah.
Bedivere voice from Holy Grail.
Hello, I'm Terry Jones. How are you? Oh, we can go over
Do
here.
you know she's a witch?
Well, it's very easy to do Terry Jones because I'll just do what I did earlier. I wonder where that fish has gone.
There you go.
A fishy. Oh, so I can do the crazy Terry Jones voice, just like his regular speaking voices.
Can you do Terry Jones as Mr. Toad?
Oh, hello, I'm Mr. Toad. Oh, Toad of Toad Hall. Oh, I love motor cars. Oh, poo-poo.
Yeah, that's it. You
There
nailed
we go.
it.
Terry Jones is a voice that I've been doing ever since I was a kid. So it's pretty much in there, yeah. But yeah, Michael Palin as the son is like our only chance to talk about Michael Palin. There really wasn't any.
No, I mean he was the youngest member of the Python troupe, and he was just a good guy to have around on set. I think like stories go that he's like one of the nicest guys in the British show business. So
And like
he's got like a travelogue show, I believe.
Yeah, that's the thing is that, like Cleese obviously will say yes to anything. Like, give him a paycheck and he'll be in your movie. Idol's working a little less now, but he also will pretty much show up in anything. Michael Palin, after Python, he starred in like 4 or 5 movies, but after a certain point, he just kind of stopped and he just did travelogue documentaries.
Yeah.
And he did that for like a decade of just him going to various places and being all like, "Oh, look at this place over here. Look at that.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?" I don't know. I haven't seen any of this, but like, no, he seems like a very well-read individual. He's great in The Death of Stalin. Which was like the first time he had acted, I feel like, in over a decade. So it was great to see him in that movie. And I'm all like, "Oh, are we going to see any more Michael Palin?" He hasn't been in anything since. But we love him.
Yeah.
We do.
Thanks for showing up as the son. They wrote you apart.
You are the son. You are my son, King. Go off.
Jesus. Okay, so
They finally meet Mr. Toad.
yeah, and Toad says, "Oh, how serendipitous that you lost your home, Mole. I got just the thing for you." And he shows him this carriage, this horse-drawn carriage.
This caravan, I believe is what they call it in the UK.
Yeah.
The caravan. We get into the caravan and we go on a little trip.
Yeah, and it's his latest obsession, and he can't wait to hit the road. His horse says, "No one asked me what I think of the caravan." And here's where I'm thinking, like, Okay, so we got we got animal humans, we got regular humans, and we have regular animals, but the animals also have full sentience and can speak, right?
Look, Jameson, we just spent like 5 minutes talking about the fact that the sun can talk to you. Maybe we don't need to be thinking as hard about the logic of this world as we maybe do. Because I agree with you. I nearly went insane trying to make sense of how everything works in this world.
The hierarchy of power here. Like, who's at the top of the food chain here?
Maybe just the fact that you can like have conversations with the sun is enough to let us know that maybe we shouldn't be thinking too hard. But no, this is the one time we see just a talking horse, and it's like pure Mr. Ed. They just like smeared peanut butter on this horse's upper lip.
Yeah. So they hit the road in the horse-drawn carriage there, and on the way there, they get run off the road by a car.
It's the first motor car that Toad has ever seen, and yeah, he's like we get the impression that like Toad can't stay interested in things for very long. When we get to Toad Hall, we see that he's scuttled this riverboat, and Rat says like, well, he's off boats now. That was his whole thing, and he's replaced caravans with boats, and now that his caravan has been run off the road by a motor car, he now has motor car mania.
Yeah. Wave of the future.
And we get the classic image of him in the car with like the driving goggles on, and he's bouncing out of the car.
He's on his titular wild ride.
He is indeed. He's riding the hell out of that car.
Yeah. And he's a dangerous fucking reckless driver.
Absolutely. He should not be behind the wheel at all. Yeah. That is the crazy thing about Toad, is that like he loves racing cars, but he loves crashing them almost as much.
Yeah.
And we find out that he's been through like 7 or 8 cars at this point, because he just has like all the money in the world, and he can just throw wads of it.
Like, being Toad's friend must be fucking exhausting.
Look at how tired all 3 of them are by the end of this.
Why do they put up with it? You know what it is? It's because they all live on his land. they have no choice.
Yeah, exactly. They're fair weather friends. They're just like they're just hangers on. Exactly. They know that like they need to keep Toad in their life just for like the security blanket.
Yeah.
In case anything happens to them over there. So like, well, I'll just ask Toad for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he crashes his car, and they're all separated in the woods, and that's where Mole runs afoul the weasels. And they all sing a song that I couldn't understand because I watched the YouTube version of it and the audio was shitty. But I could definitely see the music video. Yeah. And that is like fucking if Tim Burton directed a Duran Duran music video.
This movie is kind of a musical. It's more of a movie with songs.
Yeah.
This is the longest of the song. This is a full musical number. It has like multiple repetitions of the chorus.
It has a dance line in it.
Yep. And it's basically just the weasels are telling Mole, you know, don't be a chump. You got to look out for yourself.
Yeah, friends are meaningless in this world.
Our way of surviving is like looking at after ourselves or whatever. But it's also revealed here that like the weasels can like disappear if they want to. They can like teleport like across the wood if they feel like it.
Yeah, they have like neon gloves or something that glow in the dark.
Yeah, they were doing a lot of touching on Mole's body, and I wasn't happy with that. Leave him alone.
Had like elongated,
he's just a little guy,
elongated claws and everything. It was a feast for the eyes, and yet I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on.
No, but, it just reinforces the idea that the weasels are the bad guys of the troop. It is funny later on when all of the friends meet up later. Toad says, I ran into the weasels, and Mole's line is like, did they sing a dreadful song at you? And I'm like, that's a good breaking of the fourth wall here.
In fact, they did.
In fact, they did, and I couldn't tell what was going on because I didn't have the subtitles on.
Yeah, but they also dropped the knowledge to Mole that, you know, we're the ones that destroyed your home. Toad sold it to us for a song, and you know we got big ambitions for Toad Hall and the meadow in general. And
he sold it to us for a song. In fact, it's this song. It's a secret to survival in a very nasty world. And then it immediately begins snowing in the woods. Now it begins snowing because in the book, this is like later. This is like several months later where they go into the woods. It's like a completely different season. But because they're sort of shrinking everything down so it can fit into 1 hour and a half movie, it's when they're on the road with Toad, it's a beautiful sunny day. As soon as they get to the woods, just like, oh, and it's winter now, apparently. It just happened like in the middle of the day.
I mean, isn't that just like the weather, typical weather in England?
Typical British weather? Yeah, exactly.
So they're in the wildwood and they have to survive the snow, but they just, luckily enough, they happen upon Badger's home.
Yes.
And like a rat just like makes a couple of comments like, no, don't, Badger's not all bad. He's not that fierce. And, he's got like these signs all around his place saying like no visitors or anything like that. And yet he seems like a nice, reasonable fellow.
He seems like a totally cool dude. Badger in this is played by the great British actor Nicol Williamson, who was a big stage guy. He has a very famous Hamlet known to him. He's got a great voice.
Yes.
This guy's got a fantastic, deep, booming voice that's just like, I wouldn't want this guy mad at me at all either.
Yeah. And I guess the implication is that, Badger is the wizened older friend of theirs.
Yeah.
And are we getting the impression that, like, in addition to being that, he's also very physically intimidating? Because I have to imagine, badgers are just bigger than rats and moles.
If you put those 4 animals next to each other, Badger towers over all of them. So he is meant to be intimidating.
An imposing guy.
It is kind of, because when you think about it, you think about the 3 other characters. They are sort of palling around with a predator.
Yeah.
Someone who would naturally sort of like seek them out and gobble them down or whatever. But
no, old friends.
No, old friends.
Invites them in.
Except for Toad, who he has no fucking time for. Badger is not here for any of Toad's bullshit whatsoever.
He cannot, what was that Tommy Lee Jones line about Jim Carrey?
I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
Yeah, that.
That's largely what's going on.
That's their dynamic.
That's absolutely what's going on, because Toad eventually shows up. He does get cornered by the weasels, and the weasels, I think, sell him 7 more motor cars.
Yeah.
That he gets on credit from his inheritance.
Yeah, the idea, I think, is that they want to bankrupt him.
Yeah.
So that they can swoop in and take Toad Hall for themselves. Yeah, so they're preying on his obsession there. Badger mentions that he was friends with Toad's father.
Exactly. Well, yeah,
and he's pissed off that Toad is pissing away his inheritance.
To use a metaphor that I was using earlier before we started recording, Badger is very much the peppy hair of the gang.
Do a barrel roll.
do a barrel roll, Toad. And it's like now I'm picturing a version of Star Fox with the Wind and the Willows characters. That would actually be very funny. Hello, I'm Mr. Toad. I'd like you to meet my cousin from America, Slippy. Toad shows up, and Badger's all like, yeah, I knew your father. We were old friends. He left it up to me for you not to squander your inheritance. So he takes Toad into the other room.
Oh, and he just gives him a badgering,
he gives him a right badgering, doesn't he? And
this like closed door torture thing where I have to, in my fucking twisted mind, I'm thinking like, he's like hooking him up to car batteries, and he's like doing all this like intense torture stuff that we can't see because it's behind closed doors, but like hours pass and he's just badgering him like nonstop. Reading him the riot act.
Hours pass, and then eventually Toad comes out of the room. We get the impression that Badger has talked some sense into him.
No, Toad, don't you have something to say to your friends Mole and Rat? Something about how you're sorry, like all that shit. And Toad's just like, no, I'm fine.
I'm good.
What? But in there, you said you were repentant. And he's like, yeah, I'd say anything in there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you were fucking waterboarding me with fucking talk about putting the wind through my willows.
Yes.
But
now here in court of public opinion, like he says one thing under deposition, but outside of the court of law, it's like they're just again rich folk gaming the system.
So they lock him in a wicker basket because he's acting like a dang fool. Mm-hmm. So they trap him in a wicker basket and they say, all right, fine, we'll sneak you back into Toad Hall. Why do they want to sneak? Because they just want to avoid the weasels, right?
Yes, I think the idea is weasels can't take Toad Hall so long as they're all still in there to guard it, I guess.
That's right. And also,
I mean, this is written for children.
Yes, and by the time they get back to Toad Hall, it has stopped snowing. I think it only snows in the forest.
Yeah, just that one freak snowstorm.
It's a magical forest.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly. They get there. They do a thing where Badger has all these underground tunnels. And they go through here, and he has one sort of tossed-off line of dialogue that for a second made me think, is this some sort of, like...
post-apocalyptic future? Yes!
It would explain so much. It would explain all the human-animal hybrids.
Yeah, all these mutant animals everywhere.
He says, like, there are ruins underneath here where humans used to live. Humans lived here, like, thousands of years ago, but they went away. Badgers are still here. Badgers were here at the beginning. Badgers will continue to be here.
Yes.
And I'm like, is this like a Cars-esque universe where, like, all the humans died out?
Yeah.
This tunnel will take us right to Toad Hall.
How under earth did you find the time to do all this, Badger?
Oh, I didn't. Long, long ago, there was a city of humans right here. I thought that city would endure forever, but humans can't let things rest. Greed, you see, that's their undoing. But we remain. There were badgers here before, and there'll be badgers here still.
This is the thing I mentioned earlier about how it turns the whole story on its head. Because they have to pad out some blanks, so he just has this tossed-off line that I have to imagine explains why there's all these animal creatures walking around.
But they don't go far enough with it, and I don't think that was the implication, because there's so many just humans walking around.
Yeah. If there was like that kind of event that like hyper evolved all these animals, and now they live in harmony with the humans. Humans seem to have like weathered that storm quite well. You know, not a whole lot seems to have changed, but there was a time period where humans were living underground with the badgers.
Yeah.
But that was a badger-human society, and then there was the Great Uprising.
The Great Uprising, indeed, that's because they went up. They went up to the surface. Yeah, absolutely.
And then they left the proud badgers to squander underground, and soon there will be a resistance.
I would have liked them to explore that idea a little bit further. I don't know. Yeah. But we only get, like, the barest of lip service for it. Yeah. So we finally get back to Toad Hall. We see that there's a car salesman there who has brought 7 new motor cars for Toad, because that's what the weasels have organized for him. Badger very calmly goes up to this gentleman and
get these cars out of here. I'm gonna stick them up your ass.
He says it's the fanciest I've ever heard a character basically say, I'm gonna shove these cars right up your ass.
If you remove these machines forthwith, I promise not to insert one part of them into any portion of your anatomy.
But it's just all like, that's a very flowery way of saying you're gonna defile this man with a fender.
I'm thinking like Badger's got his like arm really tight around the guy's shoulder, squeezing just a little too tight. Be a shame if something were to happen to all these cars of yours. They lock Toad in his bedroom, ideally to have him quit auto racing cold turkey.
And it's implied that this is like months. It's months of looking after their like toxically mentally ill friend who isn't being nice to them.
No.
At all.
They owe him nothing.
They owe him nothing. But like for some reason, because they're good guys,
because the world revolves around the rich in our society.
Yeah.
Mole has to stop his pursuit of his home to help out a millionaire frog.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but he's probably like sleeping in like one of Toad's guest rooms. He's
better set off now than ever he was living underground with a fucking talking clock.
Yeah. Who knows what he got up to with that clock?
He gets some fucking silence now.
He's just all like.
Anyways,
he gets quite lonely in this hole.
Is it tea time again?
Is it tea time already? All I have is my sentient clock sex slave.
It's 69.
So Toad tricks Rat by convincing him to go on a winter picnic.
Yeah,
I guess it's still supposed to be winter even though the snow is all gone.
He plays into his love of the river and going out on picnics. Preying on his devotion to that.
He remembers Rat's soul-defining attribute.
Yeah.
The one trait that he has is that he loves picnics by the river.
Yeah.
And he manages to sneak away, and he does probably the shortest song in the movie, but it keeps coming back. He keeps bringing back refrains. It's all like, "Oh, the men of Oxford! Oh, Mr. Toad is smarter than them! Oh, Kaloo-Kalay!"
Yeah, and this is just one of those moments where I'm watching the director of the movie in this green face, like doing these little ditties. And I'm just like, it's not a vanity project per se, but it's like
he's having fun.
Oof, I don't know. I always have a tough time seeing like writer director stars
Singing in one of their movies.
I've never seen one do like a full musical number like that outside of something like Get Even or Miami Connection. It's tough for me to see that.
Yeah, and then he like ties a bunch of bed sheets together and he climbs out the window and he hops on a skateboard and said, "Surf's up, big kahuna!"
Radical!
Radical, bro.
Yeah. He goes into town and he sees a human couple go into a restaurant.
Well, what's funny is he goes to see a pub and he looks at the sign of the pub, and the sign of the pub is him looking at the sign of the pub. And then later on, the people in the motor car stop outside of the pub, and now the sign has changed to them in the motor car looking at the sign of the pub. A very funny visual gag.
Can't you see yourself here?
Yeah, there's a couple of really good, just like visual gags in this movie. Like jumping ahead later on, Toad is trying to get back to Toad Hall. He's on foot, and he passes a sign that just says "miles to go."
Yeah. Well, wasn't there like a fork in the road sign that said somewhere this direction, somewhere else
exactly
that direction,
that type of thing?
Yeah.
So unbeknownst to Toad, the weasels have come up with another sneaky plan. Basically, it's like if Toad gets into one more motor car, he's going to be in real trouble. And this is sort of like the famous thing from the book is that Toad has all these motor cars of his own, but when his friends get rid of his motor cars, he results to Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. So, up until this point, he's just been an obnoxious shit. But the absolute worst thing that he's done was, he was endangering his friends with his reckless driving and everyone else around him, but he wasn't overtly committing any crimes.
Well, he tricked his good friend Rat into thinking that they were going to go on a lovely picnic, and some might say that's the worst crime of all.
He deceived him, but that's not a crime.
Should be.
It is. Yeah.
Toad law.
Yeah, if I ever promised you on a picnic and then I didn't take you on one, if I were reneged on that,
it would be the end of this podcast.
End of this friendship.
It would be the end of the show.
But this is the first actual legit crime that Toad commits.
He commits an actual crime. That's what he does. He steals this car that isn't his, and then he immediately destroys it.
Almost immediately. He makes one right turn, and it crashes.
Yeah.
And then we get to a courtroom presided over Judge Stephen Fry.
He's back yet again, and Cleese now enters the movie.
Once again as a lawyer.
Once again as a lawyer, as a barrister.
As a barrister.
Don't forget, he's wearing that fancy wig.
Yep.
But he's Mr. Toad's lawyer. But you wouldn't know that from his first line because the entire joke with John Cleese here is that he's supposed to be the defense for Mr. Toad, but he can't stop insulting Mr. Toad. He can't stop,
he's recommending the harshest sentence
exactly.
for him. Yeah.
He's recommending that they lock him up for life.
The full penalty of the law is hardly sufficient for the heinous, callous, unmitigatedly evil crime perpetrated by the sniveling wretch we now see cowering before us in the dock.
Thank you. I rest my case. I understood that you were counsel for the defense.
Indeed I am, my lad, but his crime is so blackguardly that this is, in fact, the best defense that can be offered.
Yeah, and Cleese is doing his usual shouty, funny thing. What was most surprising about this scene is I think the other lawyer actually has the funnier joke. The against Toad, he only has one line, but Stephen Fry says, would you like to add any remarks? He says, "No, Your Honor, but I would like to just wag my finger at the defendant for a moment." Tisk, 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 tisk. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but I think he actually has the funnier line than Cleese does.
I mean, this whole courtroom scene is right out of a Flying Circus sketch, and it
looks like they borrowed the set from the Flying Circus sketch.
Yeah, I mean, just the entire setup of an entire courtroom up against the defendant.
Mr. Toad is pleading his case, and then all of a sudden Graham Chapman comes in. "I'm Dim of the Yard." so-called Mr. Toad.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he goes, I didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition here.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
nobody.
All the hits. All the hits.
yeah.
Yeah.
They bring it back.
Badger tries to make a case yet again on Toad's behalf, and of course, it might have worked, but Toad immediately throws it back in his face and is all like, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry for any of this shit.
Yeah.
Fuck the system, ACAB, you know, like all this stuff. The Wind in the Willows version of ACAB is calling someone a nincompoop.
Yeah.
That's a real slur that he
I was
throws
gonna say
around
this.
like
It is treated like the harshest slur that you could levy against someone in this movie. He says it, and everyone goes,
oh my goodness. Yeah. Now, we're talking about how this world doesn't make any sense. It seems like the jury for these cases have to be an entire jury of rabbits. Because
I mean, the entire population is just rabbits.
I would say it's primarily rabbits.
because
Because
it's like
getting more and more
Yeah,
every second.
because it's the easiest fucking animal costume they could have put together.
Exactly.
They gotta get a couple bunny ears, put them on hats. You're off to the races.
And most of like the background actors are also happen to be rabbits. And if they're not wearing bunny ears, it's all like, well, they were all.
And then they're a human.
They were all used up for that day. Yeah, I'd like to think that if you see someone without anything and you think they're a human, it's just all like, oh no, I'm like a naked mole rat, and he just has like a little nub.
Yeah.
They all have tails, but they're like very
under
small.
under my
and
suit.
they keep them the thing. They keep them tucked in. Like Rat should keep his fucking business tucked in.
Yeah.
He just has that nasty fucking rat tail everywhere.
Hell, his rat tail gives him away a couple of times.
Like a bunch of times. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tuck that shit between your legs, buddy.
Anyways, the weasels have tainted the jury pool because there's an obvious weasel in the jury box, and
I guess all the jury have to be rabbit. That's just a law that this.
Here
that
you go,
this
Toad, a
world
jury
has.
of your peers.
Yes. It feels like there should be like a joke here, but there's no. It would be a lot easier if like there was an animal that rhymed with the word peer, because then you could have like a jury of your
deers.
A jury of your deers. Oh my god. We got to rewrite this. We got to rewrite it. A jury of your deers would have been hilarious.
Get Terry Jones on the horn. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Oh dear. Yeah. I'm just gonna. Maybe we don't need more adaptations of Wind in the Willows. It seems like there's a bunch.
I think they nailed it.
Yeah.
with this one.
Yeah. So Toad starts hopping around the jury. He's just flagrant disrespect for the law. Judge Stephen Fry sentenced him to 100 years in prison. Immediately made me think of Adventure Time. 100 years dungeon, 100 years. Get in the dungeon.
I'm not familiar with that one.
All right. Well, look it up.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, he's in jail, and the weasels storm Toad Hall. It's now theirs. They immediately start wrecking shop. You think you'd want
guns blazing,
yeah,
smashing everything.
Yeah, they kick out Rat and Mole, and
this is where Rat and Mole discover the weasels' plan is to blow up Toad Hall. We also learn that they bulldozed Mole's home on the plot of land that Toad sold them because they are going to put up a dog food factory. So they have all of these barrels that have explosives on the outside, and then they have these other barrels that are filled with bones.
Yeah, just marked bones.
And I just wrote barrels of bones?
Barrels of bones?
Question mark? And it took me until basically the very end of the movie before I realized, oh, the bones are for dog food.
Yeah.
They're going to take the bones and they're going to grind them and they're going to turn them into dog food. Oh, okay. But for the majority of the runtime, I'm sitting here, I'm like, why would the weasels have barrels of bones? I was racking my brain trying to think of like, what's the point of this?
Are they going to plant a bunch of corpses under the meadow? And
do they eat the bones?
No. Well,
are the bones their money? Now
the money are their bones.
The bones are their money.
So are the worms.
You got that reference?
Yeah, I did. But like dogs don't even eat bones. They chew on them, they gnaw on them, but like do they mean milk bones?
Well, I do think like dog food is made from like the bits of meat that no one else wants, and it is like highly processed or stuff.
Okay.
I do think maybe at one point in time there might have been like bone marrow in dog meat. I think maybe that's a thing. I don't know. It doesn't read very well, though.
No.
It's just it's an odd thing to put in barrels.
It is. Yeah.
I don't know. How many bones do you think you could fit in a barrel?
A lot.
Yeah. And like bones.
Bones of what?
Bones are quite light. I also have. You know what? That's a fantastic question, Jameson. Bones of what? Where did they acquire these bones? These are great questions that we do not get answers to.
So, Rat says something like, I have a plan. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I just want to fuck shit up for the weasels. So
yeah, Rat says it's always a good idea to fuck with the weasels. Even if you're not sure what you're doing, just do it anyway, because it'll probably work out later on.
At this point, the weasels are 5-0 against us. So, I don't know, let's just do something that'll ruin a weasel's day.
Yeah.
So they swap the signs on the barrels with marked bones with the barrels marked explosives.
Yes. It is interesting because I guess this reveals the fact that the weasels want to buy Toad Hall so they can blow it up and I guess build something on it. I was under the impression that they wanted Toad Hall because they wanted Toad Hall.
It's the nicest home.
They wanted a big
around.
fancy mansion to live in and call their own or whatever. But I don't remember the explosive part being part of the story.
I don't think
at all.
No,
but it is in this one, I guess.
Yeah, because they got to pad the running length.
They have to
full theatrical length.
They have to blow some shit up at some point in time. Yes.
Yep. So we're 42 minutes into the movie and we meet our first woman character.
Now, to be fair, I think in the original story there is one female character, and that is this. This is the jailer's daughter. This is also from the book where Toad is in prison, and I think in the book it's more heavily implied that the jailer's daughter has the hots for Toad, and that's
she's after his money.
I think everyone's after his money in this one. Yeah, definitely. But they concoct a scheme to get Toad to switch places with her aunt.
Yes.
Who's a tea lady, and they dress Toad in a fancy costume, which just means Terry Jones is now doing his woman Monty Python voice.
Yeah.
It's not a short walk for him at all. He's kind of his Toad voice is very nearly his woman voice.
Can I just is this a thing that happens in British jails? They'll just like come around and give you tea.
Maybe it's some of the fancier things. I think maybe like the tea lady is for the guards.
The conquistador guards.
The conquistador guards. That is funny that they were wearing very Spanish accented clothing.
Yeah. So she's he swaps spots with the tea lady.
At the same time, Mole and Rat have dug their way into Toad's cell, but he refuses the easy escape in lieu of one with more panache.
Yeah, because that's what Toad's all about. He's all about the flash and doing the dumbest thing possible.
Exactly.
I like how we got past that one guard.
Oh, by maiming his genitals?
Yes.
So this was really graphic.
So I assume that this guard has the hots for the tea lady. He does not recognize, a Toad in drag as...
No, because it's a flawless costume.
Yeah. He just assumes, you're wearing the same outfit. This guy has face blindness. and he goes after...
It's only for green faces, though. He can't remember.
So he tries to steal a kiss from the tea lady. And Toad chemically castrates him with boiling hot tea.
Yeah, well, it's like a steam... He has like a steam valve or something, and he like opens, like he pours like hot steam into this guy's like open pants to get away from him, and I'm just all like, that guy's got third-degree burns all over his dick.
Yeah.
That's really fucked up, Toad. Wow. I know you don't like the system, but like still leave a man with his fucking shame.
Yeah,
my
his
word.
Dignity there, yeah.
Oh god.
So there's a jailbreak. Guards go after Toad, and
I liked this. You must have watched the YouTube version. I purchased this movie because
poor bastard.
I didn't know that there was a YouTube version, so I do own this now. But that does mean that I watched it with the subtitles on. And if you have the subtitles on at this point, what's really funny is the guard comes out, runs into a bunch of other guards. He doesn't say any dialogue. The dialogue just says blubbering, but he literally comes out, goes up to these other guards and goes, and then they all run away. And I just thought that was really funny. They run away and they leave another prisoner behind, and the prisoner does this great little take where he's like, can I get the fuck? Oh, go, and he just runs away.
Okay, I think I missed that, or maybe it happened and I just don't remember.
Yeah, and they let like like this serial killer vole get away or something. I don't know. I'm creating characters within the universe here.
Toad comes across a dead end, but using the magic of CGI, he
Flawless movie magic here.
he lifts himself out of the prison wall with his tongue.
I liked how disgusted all the guards were.
Yeah.
They really get into this here where it's all like, he's escaping, and they're just like, well, that's just awful. That's just disgusting. Ugh.
Yeah.
And then he manages to escape at literally the exact same time as Mole and Rat.
Yes.
So he could have gone with them.
Yeah, absolutely. He just meets up with them at the other side. Yeah, but he lifts himself up by his tongue.
How else would you do it?
I don't know. He looks like a heavy dude. Also, toads don't have the super long tongue. Frogs do.
Jameson, the sun talks.
Okay, fine.
Every time we get
right.
into this, I'm just going to bring up the fact that the sun has full conversations with them.
All right, so we get to a train station.
Yeah.
Toad wants to buy his way onto the train, but he left his wallet in the prison.
Which I guess that's a thing. I guess they just let you keep your wallet when you're in Wind in the Willows prison.
Yeah, really.
You basically get to keep whatever
It's like
you
a
want.
vacation, you know?
Yeah, really, yeah. So he left his money behind, so they have no money for tickets. So
They do a fucking slip and fall scam against the train conductor where they make it look like Toad, still in the tea lady's costume, gets run over by the fucking train, or the train bumps him and knocks him unconscious. So
he just appeals to the train engineer's better nature, the good nature of this.
King
this man.
Theoden.
King Theoden, yes. The engineer is played by Bernard Hill a year before Titanic came out. So, this is right on the cusp of him being a little more recognized.
Yeah.
Still a few years away from Lord of the Rings. But it's funny and because like the police are after him. And Toad is able to get away, or at the very least kick this engineer off his own train by stoking the flames of his motorist bias. Because this is very funny thing. It's all like those are motorists, and they hate trains, and they hate this.
Trains, and I'll take care of this. And so the conductor of this train climbs onto the roof like it's a fucking James Bond movie.
So he's all like headlight flashers, like he's like yelling like motor car related insults at them. Yeah.
But yeah, so they're stretching out the scene by having an action sequence on the top of this freight train, and they're having fist fights or whatever. There's a gunfight, there's a shootout between the cops and these beloved children's characters.
And then Bernard Hill falls off the train, and Toad takes the reins because now he's found something that's even faster than a motor car, and now he loves trains, and he just loves speed. He's a speed junkie, and somehow Rat and Mole fall off the train. I'm not entirely certain.
Don't they uncouple the
That's
engine
right.
from the other car?
They're trying to uncouple the train. They're trying to get away from the weasels and the police or whoever. And Toad ends up separated from Rat and Mole yet again because they uncouple the train cars. And Mole takes this way harder than he needs to. Like he's immediately starts.
Mole is still homeless.
He's still homeless. He's still dealing with the trauma of losing his home and all of his profession.
And everyone just seems to have dropped that to help out Toad with his bullshit. So he has like a heart to heart with the sun, and he is like, "Oh, can you see my friends from up there?" So he's like, I can see everything from up here. That's the best thing about being the sun.
As I can see the weasels putting dynamite into your house.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, son.
Thanks, son. Thanks a lot. But for some reason, a situation that wasn't remotely his fault or his responsibility, Mole has taken full responsibility for this, and he's just all like, I'm a loser.
I'm not brave enough to stand up to the weasels.
So I'll leave. Bye. I'll see you at the climax of the movie, obviously.
Yeah.
He goes away, and then what happens? And then they go back to Toad Hall, right?
Well, they go to the weasels' factory. Badger and Rat meet up, and
the weasels have blocked off the river, so Rat's beloved river is all dried up now.
Yeah.
So now he's all like, now it's personal. Now I can't mess about on the river anymore. So I got
no more messing about.
I love the way Eric Idle says the word river in this. Like it's
river.
It starts with a silent W.
Yeah.
It's a very, very Welsh way of saying that. Yeah.
So now they go to the weasels' dog food factory, which is made to look like a Nazi prison camp.
There's so much. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the rats get very Nazi-ish.
The weasels.
The weasels. Sorry, the weasels get very Nazi-ish. They start wearing armbands.
Yeah, and I'm like,
what just happened? Because that's not what you guys looked like earlier.
Yeah, like you guys looked awesome before, and now come on, guys.
Now I'm off this train.
I'm off the weasel train.
Yeah. Now it went too far. Once armbands become a thing, it's time to leave a group. If you're in a group and they want to start accessorizing with armbands, it's time to leave. It's time to go. It's time to find a new hobby.
Especially when your goals are already pretty, villainous.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they have like this big industrial meat grinder that they trick Toad into thinking is a new machine, but he's stuck on the world's slowest conveyor belt that takes like a full 5 hours for him to finally get him to the part where he'll get all ground up into dog food.
And they capture Badger and Rat, and they tie him up with Toad, and they're going to lower them into the meat grinder. Mole shows up. We're hoping that he's going to come save the day, but his scarf gets caught in the gears of the meat grinder. And I'm just yelling at my TV, take your fucking scarf off, and then you can reach the stop button.
But if I don't wear this big scarf, how will people know that I'm a mole? It's the only way to tell. I take the scarf off, I'm just a dude.
It's my only defining animal characteristic.
I'm just a late 90s Steve Coogan without this scarf. It's my soul defining character thing. Yeah, and then... Who throws something at the stop? Mole throws something at the stop button, and it's a big hero moment for him because he says earlier, "Oh, I can't throw for toffee," is what he says, which is fun. I should start using that in day-to-day sentences.
I think Mole throws a wrench at the.
He throws a wrench and he stops the button. The ending of this movie really kind of. For some reason, I wasn't able to retain much about the ending of this movie. Do you remember what happened?
Yeah,
I know the weasels end up blowing themselves up because Rat has switched the barrels.
So
they blow up the dog food factory.
Yeah, they do blow up the factory at one point.
I remember what happens.
There's a banquet with the weasels.
The four friends start singing a happy little song while they're beating up the weasels, and then mid-song... The head weasel, the boss weasel escapes, and Toad runs after him, and there's like a little mini action scene between those two characters. And then when Toad comes back to Toad Hall, like 5 minutes later, they're still doing the song. Yeah. They haven't stopped singing the song. Like we haven't been following the song as the audience. I love that when it's like they come back and the song is still going.
Well, like what happens is the weasels are having their banquet at Toad Hall, and then our heroes show up and they engage in a fight. But I guess because the weasels are all stupid and there's a lot of them, they start inadvertently beating each other up. No, what happens is they have a birthday cake for the head weasel.
Yes.
And that cake is like, it's actually a bomb, and it's rigged to blow.
Because this is the point where like the weasels are supposed to be hoisted by their own petard. Because they told Mole earlier, don't be friends with people. We're not friends with each other. We're just looking out for ourselves. Now here's where that's all coming to head, and now the weasels are starting to backstab each other.
Yeah, they're all betraying each other, and it's like, we've taken out our leader. Now I will be the head weasel. I want to be head weasel. No, I'm head weasel, and then
I'll be the head. Yeah, it's that type of archetype.
Yeah, and so then like our Rat, Mole, Badger, whatever, like they want to start engaging in this fight, but then the weasels all just start fighting each other, and so our main characters have nothing to do but to sing a song.
This is a very, very dumb statement that I am about to make. And I recognize that this statement is going to make me sound like an absolute idiot. But just sitting here right now, do you know what I just realized?
What's that?
Is that these are also the weasels from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I never actually put that together before. But it's clearly those weasels from that movie are meant to be the same characters from the animated Wind in the Willows.
Oh, really?
Thing.
Oh, so they just repurposed them as
repurposed them because Roger Rabbit did a whole bunch of that, right? Like Betty Boop was working as a cocktail waitress and everything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah,
They are.
That is like the exact same.
Isn't that funny? I never put that together before, but that's so obvious now that we're saying that. Yeah, and there's the one weasel with the big ass cigar.
Yeah.
those are the same dude. Those are the weasels from Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, they just made one fat and they put him in like zoot suits and stuff. But yeah,
they're the same things.
I mean, Disney had like one art book that
True,
they
exactly.
used
I mean, you don't need.
Here's what a weasel looks like.
If you want a weasel, you just get. And I mean, like Disney was the king of repurposing.
Yeah,
whenever they needed a bear, they just used blue.
Yeah,
again. Sometimes they made him brown, but like other than that, it was the same character model every time.
Is like pop culture's depictions of weasels like? Are we being a little too hard on weasels? Do they get a bad rap?
I certainly think. Well, it's because like the word means two things, obviously.
Yeah.
So like weasels. I don't think weasels are like particularly nasty animals. I know a lot of people have weasels as pets. They're like little. In my head, I often conflate weasels and ferrets, and I believe they're of the same family.
But are they vicious animals?
I think wild ones certainly are.
Sure,
I wouldn't pick one up and give it a hug.
Yeah,
I'd probably claw my fucking eyes out. But like, there are lots of like cute animals that you don't want to like mess with in nature, like otters. Otters will mess your face up something good, man. They got sharp fucking claws.
But they hold hands when they swim.
I know they're adorable, but it's like, yeah, you really don't want to. You don't want to mess with these guys. It's but it's it's like the question of like, do weasels get a bad rep? Does make me think of one of my favorite Simpsons quotes. It's important for a boy to learn how to weasel out of things. It's what separates us from the animals.
Except the weasel.
Except the weasel. It's a great Homer bit.
So, after they blow up the dog food factory, Mole is, he's surprised that, like, oh, they just blew up the factory. And it's like, why are you surprised by that? You helped Rat switch the labeling on the barrels. So, yeah.
Mole's just like, I do a lot of things. I don't know. I can't keep track of all of this. I can't keep track of what I'm doing.
Yeah. So yeah, we get our final scene where Toad has a press conference. he says
to the bunny media
to the bunny media on the river. I don't know what kind of announcement they're gonna make.
If there is a TV station in this world, I want to go back on this because it's clearly not bunny media. It's done by Fox.
Yeah, it's Fox.
Thank you, thank you, everyone.
Have a broadcast on Fox News.
Fox News.
Yeah.
God, you know what? Maybe we should remake Wind in the Willows just so we can have a Fox News joke.
Yeah. So they have their show, and it just becomes like a reprise.
They just do a reprise of the song from earlier where the four of them are and it's literally like the song of like, we are friends in the woods and the wind in the willows and the friends
but
in
then
the woods.
Toad kind of ducks away to go to his latest fancy, which is airplanes, which is even more fucking dangerous.
Exactly, yeah.
and
they sneak away, and Badger, for like the umpteenth time, is all like, that's the last time, Toad, you fucking shit up all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's just an endless cycle that will go on and on forever until they finally realize, you know what, Toad, you're a real toxic personality, and I just need to. I've given you. It's not worth it. Whatever you writing me into your will is going to entail. This shit ain't worth it right now.
During this sequence to this song, we briefly cut to one shot of a wall in the rebuilt home of Mole that has like a banner on it that says like "Welcome back, Mole's
Right, because we realized we realized, oh right, that's technically what the plot was, wasn't it?
I guess technically we've been following Mole since the beginning, and we should give him a proper ending.
Yeah. So yeah, they
close that plot hole there.
I still don't really understand why Mole couldn't have continued to live in his house if like a dog food factory was built over top of it. He's already under the ground. So I don't understand. Just go deeper, Mole. Just dig yourself another fucking burrow.
I know, right?
But like, no, the factory had to blow up, and now that the factory is gone, Mole can rebuild his house, even though so much time has passed over the course of this movie. Months and months have passed. Seasons have changed. Surely they could have made Mole a house by now. Just anywhere. Just make a hole somewhere else in the field, Mole. There's lots of room.
Maybe that home was actually the clock's home, and it was like gifted to him from his
passed down.
Generational home of the clock family. And Mole owed it to the clock to give him it was a house, but it wasn't a home. So
it's not a home until you have a sentient clock
that
tells you when tea time is.
Yeah, and credits roll over a frankly pretty cool song. The Miracle of Friends by Rick Discal.
Yeah, and it's one of like those end credits songs that kind of goes over the entire plot of the movie, and it's all like it's literally about the wind in the willows. Like the lyrics are all like, "You're just a toad, and you like to go fast," and things of that
There's
nature.
the wind and the willows. Yeah, and I only know the name of that song because I was like, oh, this is a bit of a toe tapping. Kind of reminded me of that.
A toad tapping?
Yeah, and it just reminds me of that fucking Adventures of Mark Twain song, so I had to know the name of the song and who sang it. Did you know that of all the songs that are in this movie, there's only 2 that are listed in the credits?
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
I thought that was really strange because there's definitely more than one song.
Yeah, they don't credit the Weasel song.
They don't.
The best song.
That's that's like the only like complete song.
Yeah.
But yeah, they credit Rat's tossed off little like creepy number from the beginning, and then they credit the end credits song, and they completely forgot to credit who wrote the other songs. Because there really are only because there's only like 4. There's like 5.
4 or 5 songs.
There's
yeah.
Rat song. There's the
credits.
Weasel song.
Yeah.
Mr. Toad's reprise,
and then the friendship
and
song.
then we are friends in the woods, in the willows. So yeah, but who cares? Yeah,
who cares?
Who cares? Who wrote that stuff? Yeah. All right. Is there anything we mentioned? I feel like we.
I think we got
covered
pretty much everything
that we wanted to do.
Let me just. I know what Toad's saying when he says this, when he's imitating a car horn, but he keeps going poop poop.
He keeps going poop poop. Yeah.
Yep.
He does say poop poop quite a bit. Sometimes it's like a oh poop poop you badger. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, and I know it's meant to be a car horn, but he's just saying poop.
Well, also because like the motor cars of that era or whatever, like they were the cars that like famously went like
Yeah.
like they would like putter and stutter and everything. So yeah, I have a feeling that's what he's trying to emulate there. But
I don't know.
you know, it's an old book. What are you gonna do?
It's an old book, and if you're gonna make rewrites and add and you want to make these changes for like a modern audience, just go honk honk or beep
Sure.
beep.
Yeah.
You know, like don't keep going with poop poop. It
Poop,
means something different.
Well,
He's in this day and age.
he's a poop fancier, Mr. Toad.
He's got a fetish.
He loves nincoms and he loves poops. I don't know. Anyway, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, The Wind in the Willows. Jameson, does this movie have a certain something, or is it a whole lot of nothing?
It's got some imagination to it, but I didn't really like it.
I mean, again, we should reiterate
It's a children's movie.
and also we are not the target audience for this.
Yeah.
This is for younger children. This is for people who maybe like grew up on the books and have a certain amount of nostalgia to it. I'll say this movie has a certain something.
Yeah.
I think he put a lot of heart and effort into this.
Decent reimagining too.
It's certainly not a
to the tale.
lazy adaptation. I feel
That's
like
true.
everyone's going for it.
Yep,
Everyone's giving very good performances. As
No
you
one's
say,
phoning it in.
all of the weasels are really good.
Yeah.
I like all the villains there. Yeah, you know, I think this is fine. I think you could do. Well, it's definitely maybe like one of the weirdest adaptations of The Wind in the Willows that's ever existed.
I think maybe you're right. No one's really phoning it in, but at the same time, I think it's just a little sloppy in the execution.
Yeah.
You know, like we were saying before, that there are certain scenes where Terry Jones just isn't wearing the green face paint.
I would have preferred it if they had thought the world out a little bit more. And I'm just saying that as someone who watches way too many movies and is truly nitpicking here. But it's like, I just didn't understand the dichotomy of these creatures. Do the animals have the same rights as humans? Why are they the same size as the humans?
Maybe don't phone in the depiction of the animal-human characters.
I mean, like, Stephen Fry as a judge, that's great. But, like, Stephen Fry as like a raccoon judge, like, come on, like, give me a
put like a pig nose on him or something.
Yeah,
you know?
something like that. Yeah, exactly. But you know, have a little more fun with it.
Exactly.
But,
But they really kind of phoned it in on some of the creative decisions. That said, like, you're right. No one's sleepwalking through something like this. They put in some effort to it, and. Yeah. All right. So
and it has significantly less sexual assault in it. So it's
Yes,
it's a positive movie. We're ending on a positive note.
There you go.
As opposed to the other two. Well, we've done our trilogy of Monty Python related films.
That was our fucking Python series.
Did we learn anything?
What did we learn about pythons? I learned that I learned that the strength of
Yes.
the Monty Python troupe
Is
was
when they're together?
When they're all together, yes. Like them kind of being branched off onto their own, and they're the driving force behind some things. You start to see why they work better as an ensemble, because kind of left to their own devices and no one to reel in some of their worst ideas.
Yeah.
Not to say like necessarily, horrible, but just like when they let their creative juices kind of go unfettered, sometimes they can collapse on themselves.
It's pretty telling that of all of the movies that the Monty Python guys starred in after the troupe ended, after the show ended, the only one that was remotely successful and is an endlessly watchable movie is Fish Called Wanda. That's like the classic one. But even then, that's you only tangentially call that a Monty Python movie because it has two of the members in it. But that really is like its own standalone. John Cleese had this vision and he wanted to bring it to life.
Sure,
everything.
yeah. And like, we've seen movies that were not considered part of the Monty Python canon that have a lot of the Pythons that have like 3 or more Python members in it. And they're not.
This has the most. This has 4 of them. So, yeah.
And, it's just fine.
Yes. It's certainly fine. Yes.
But that said, I mean, like, they're fucking legends, and they got nothing left to prove, I say. And who the fuck are we to take them down a peg? These icons of pop culture.
John Cleese's Twitter does beg the question that he has something to prove.
Lay off his fucking Twitter.
Never! It's fine. He has more money than I'll ever see in my entire life. I don't care. And also, he'll be dead soon. So it doesn't matter if he has bad opinions on people, because it's fine.
Sure. I mean, all right.
Anyway, you wanted to leave us with something of a quote.
I did, yeah, because so this is from the book called The Revised and Updated Monty Python from the Flying Circus to Spamalot by Richard Topping. It's just this one passage that I want to put out that, we've been talking at length about Monty Python for these last couple of episodes, but I think this just like puts it the best as to why I think they endured and why they were so groundbreaking at the time. What was the secret behind Monty Python? Why did it become such a hugely successful phenomenon? One answer lies in the dynamics of the group. 6 highly talented and creative individuals brought together with one objective: make people laugh. But the Pythons were never a bunch who felt bound to each other. Each had their own interests and particular skills, and as a group, they did as much fighting and disagreeing with each other as they did collaborating. The group had vastly different styles. Chapman and Cleese were very pedantic, spending hours poring over a single line, crafting it to comedic perfection. Palin and Jones, however, were more content to pour out ideas in a woolier, less structured fashion. With Idle's bent for comedic songs and Gilliam's visual wizardry, the range of skills and styles was eclectic indeed. Each Python took inspiration from each other, and through a process of synergy, alchemy, biology, and buffoonery, created some of the most memorable comedy of all time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that perfectly sums it up.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. And I think it's a interesting group to look back on because it was really informative to myself and a lot of people in my age group, even though we were decades removed from them at their height. And they very much endure. And I'm glad we took the time to actually discuss it, because I think it's very fascinating to look into creative troupes like that. And good or ill, their work, I think, will stand the test of time.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I really enjoyed doing this little series. It gave me a great excuse to go back and rewatch Flying Circus, which is just a fantastic thing to have on at any point in the day.
Absolutely.
No matter what you're doing. Because even if you're half paying attention to it, it's still, the funniest shit that's ever been written.
Absolutely.
I can play out a lot of them in my head because I've seen it so very often. But anyway, that was that little mini-series, and we are moving on to our next mini-series, which should we say what it is now?
Sure.
I feel like we've pretty much landed on what our next miniseries is going to be. We've just covered the Nothing movies of Monty Python. Next, we will be taking a look at made-for-TV movies / failed pilots.
Yes.
Of little TV movies that at one point in time...
We're going to segue into a series.
Yes,
but
they didn't go for it. But they exist as these movies. They exist as these one things.
We're gonna float it and see if it attracts an audience, and then they're aired, and they said no because like we tried it with tag team.
We tried it with tag team, and it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the versions that we find will be able to find another YouTube rip like that'll have some old commercials on it.
I can only hope.
That'll be great. We can hope so. So. Yeah, so we'll do that, and before we close out the episode, we should also mark the passing of one of the greatest of all times, who just left us as of this recording yesterday. R.I.P. to Carl Weathers.
Yeah. Shocking, really.
Who we love for so many reasons. We love for his career, of course, but of course on this show we love him for the very silly series, the Shadow Warriors series.
Yeah, I've covered him in 2 movies.
Covered him on 2 films, and I was just should we try to squeeze in maybe an emergency Carl Weathers episode?
I'd say so. Yeah.
Should we do that before we do made for TV movie? Should we find a TV movie that Carl Weathers was in that maybe counts?
Let's look into that because we already have those 2 movies on deck.
Yes,
but yeah, we needed a third. Let's see if we can find.
Let's see if we can figure that out, and if we can, if Carl Weathers has something, maybe that'll be the first episode.
But yeah, I mean. R.I.P. Carl Weathers, just from Predator to the Rocky series to
Arrested Development.
Absolutely, to Arrested Development, which brought such I wouldn't say a full career resurgence, but what a way to come back to the public consciousness.
Well, and talking about career resurgences, I'd say he the sad thing is he was currently going through something like that with The Mandalorian, which he not only was he appearing in, but he was also directing some of the episodes. And it was sort of this new creative burst from Carl Weathers that we hadn't seen in a while, and now The Mandalorian will go down as the final project that he worked on. But hey, as in terms of last projects to work on,
not
pretty
a bad
good.
send-off.
Pretty good send-off.
Yeah, well,
playing the only other black man in the universe.
Well, Action Jackson, this one's for you.
Yeah. Sadly, we will never see Shadow Warriors 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna include that picture from Happy Gilmore with him waving with Abraham Lincoln and the crocodile.
Never AI Carl Weathers. Leave that man alone. Do not. I know the world is clamoring for a third Shadow Warriors. Don't recreate him with AI.
Yeah.
You gotta let it go. You gotta let it.
You had your opportunity to get that third movie
Absolutely.
out. Yeah, you squandered it.
And if you're gonna make anything, if there is gonna be a Shadow Warriors 3, you just need to bump up Derek. Derek just
Absolutely.
has to be. Derek has to be the main character.
Yeah.
Shadow Warriors 3, Derek.
All right, well, enjoy the big stew cookout in the sky, Carl Weathers.
Exactly. And that was The Wind in the Willows, directed by Terry Jones. If you like this episode, please check out all of our past episodes. We are on YouTube and Spotify under Nothing Movies. If you want to listen to our back catalog of episodes,
they're all on there.
They're all on there. They're under the title of The Fuck Is This? We'd like to thank Eddie Lamb for his fantastic theme music. You can follow us on all of the social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X. I'm Kaz Lescard.
I'm Jamie Serafra. Your notebook is left open there, and I can see barrels of bones circling.
Barrels of bones?
Barrels of bones?
That was just big question mark. Yeah, I was laughing at some of the notes that I wrote.
All right, well, I'm Jameson, and now for something completely different. We're gonna watch the NHL All-Star Game.
Yeah, that is completely different.
Yeah.